Hello, welcome. Today I'm going to be working on the lovely Heavenly, and we're going to be doing a lats and hips focused massage. So I would like to mention that I never really do massage with my rings on. Not a good idea typically, but I'm pregnant and my hands are really swollen, so it's just kind of here to stay. So just FYI. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I really like to do some type of, especially if it's a new person that I'm working on, I don't really like to go in with like a lot of movement right away. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a nice stretch and just putting some pressure on that sacrum. This is just a chance for my client to get kind of used to my touch, and this usually feels really nice. I love doing the stretch for the hips and just to release tension in the low back. And always when you're working close to the glutes, you want to be really mindful of the direction that your fingers are heading. So whatever direction your fingers are heading is where your client's going to feel that. So just always being respectful of space, personal space. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my oil and just little tricks. So like if I'm having a really busy day and I have a lot of clients, sometimes it's hard to stay grounded, and just breathing into my feet and rubbing my hands together for a few extra seconds just is very grounding for me. And there's so many different ways that you can apply oil, whatever way you choose. Just try to make it as fluid as possible. You don't want it to be choppy. I've had massages where the therapist works really quickly, but it feels amazing just because there's a fluidity to everything. The lats are a superficial muscle, so it's just a really nice area to start with if you're doing a full back focused massage. And it's really nice to include the lats when you're working into the hips as well. So boundaries are really important and personal space is important, but it's really unsatisfying, the massages that I've gotten, where the therapist is just like super rigid about stopping. You know, it's really nice when you're working on these hips if you can bring it all the way around into those hip flexors, but you want to make sure that you're communicating with your client that they're comfortable with everything you're doing. All right, so I think I have my oil where I need it. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure that these lats are a little more open and exposed. So I'm going to go ahead and just move Heavenly's arms. And everything's a little more open and taut. And I'm going to start This is probably the simplest way of just doing some soft tissue work in here. Just alternating the hands. And I really love doing Petrissage along the lats, especially to warm up. And just depending on the frame of the person that I'm working on, I might go faster or slower. Sometimes with smaller women, I find that it's just easier to go slower. You have to, concentrate a little bit harder. And one thing that I'm guilty of when I'm doing this kind of Petrissage work is if I'm starting to feel tired, I know that I'm not using my whole body. So if I start to just try and do this technique with my arms, it's really tiring. But if you can shift from side to side, from foot to foot as you're working, it just is 100 times easier. Sometimes you can feel kind of dorky, but that's okay. And just warming everything up. And I'm going to need to grab a little bit more oil because I'm going to work with my forearms. And it's always about just making your client feel as comfortable as possible. So sometimes I will just to spread the oil out and also to kind of let my client know what's next. I'll just place my forearms kind of like you're giving them a little hug without getting too much in their personal space. And I'm going to widen my stance, make sure I'm nice and comfortable as I hinge from my hips, and I'm just going to start stretching this muscle tissue. And I really like using both of my forearms. And I'm just going to follow that movement all the way into the hips. This is by far my favorite technique for working on the lats. Just feels really effective. And kind of have room to explore using both forearms. And sometimes I'll work the hips and the lats at the same time. So I'm just finding a nice flow to everything. And just not wanting to end my work on that side in a way that feels too abrupt. So just walking myself up before I start on this opposite side. And I'd say that Petrissage is one technique that I kind of fall into bad habits. So just really letting my whole body be involved, working for my core as much as I can. And it also helps with, I'm talking about like finding a good flow. So if I try to do this with just my hands, it just doesn't feel the same either. So really getting into that soft tissue. And it's a good sign if you see your client's body rocking a little bit. So sometimes if you're being overly tentative, you don't get the kind of hold you want on that muscle fiber. And without losing contact, I'm just going to go ahead and transition into this forearm technique. Nice wide stance. And again, just bringing that all the way into the hips. stretching that muscle fiber as I bring my forearms away from each other. And working the hips and the lats. And just continuing with that nice flow. And I really like to end that kind of work with just working my way around the iliac crest. And again, just being mindful of the direction that my fingers are going. So as I get closer towards those hip flexors, just letting my fingers come up. So I'm going to go ahead and end my work today with just working my way around this iliac crest. And before I forget, I want to thank a few of our patrons. I'd like to thank Madeline E., Tim Spence, and Guy Neville. Thank you guys so much for your support. And just taking my hands off nice and slow to finish. And that's all for today. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed today's massage, you should check out our Patreon page where you can find exclusive content. I look forward to seeing you there.
If you enjoy these videos, please join us at PsycheTruthPatrons.com for dozens of exclusive videos and premium programs. We have over 1,000 videos you won't find on YouTube, such as modeling and fashion hauls, exclusive massage videos, ASMR, behind the scenes, bloopers, and much more. It's a great way to help us keep the cameras rolling so we can continue making the content you love. Patrons will get 2 to 3 new exclusive videos each week, so I hope you'll consider joining our Patreon family today. Just visit PsycheTruthPatrons.com.